What is silence? Hands clapped over the mouth, or even a finger pressed to the lips, will leave no doubt that one has entered a zone of silence. Similarly, the palms extended toward an audience to hush its applause, the clinking of fork against goblet to silence the din of a dinner party, and the shushing that gently requests quiet of a stranger are rarely misunderstood. We know how to signal silence, we even know how to spell it, but what is it really? If we assume that silence is merely the absence of sound waves, or more precisely, the absence of a medium capable of transmitting sound waves, though we are correct, we miss a larger point. Silence is a measure of human limitation, for silence, after all, is a term we reserve for that which we cannot perceive, the inaudible. Because is there anything more melancholy than silent family films, especially those 8mm reels from the last century? Are the shadows cast on the white screen by a ratcheting projector something other than mute ghosts? Their greetings, their happy banter, do not reach our ears. We watch them silently burst with raucous laughter, not knowing, as we do, how the future will wrench sobs from them soon enough. And how is silence represented? Is it a moment? A photograph is a glimpse of the world with all the sound leached out. Yes, in a cropped image of an arm, we go on to imagine its hand, and so we fill in the photograph's silence with the chatter, the chirping bird song, the distant motors, the riffling breeze that our mind insists upon for us to make sense of the puddles of colors. The variegated shadows staining the white paper is somehow a fragment of the lived moment. But unlike light, sound does not leave its imprint on the photograph. A photograph is a dialectic of absence and presence. The silence that stains the scene confirms the absence of the photograph's subjects even as it preserves, much like amber hardening around a wasp, the moment in which they lived. A photograph is, of course, only the veneer of time, skimmed from its flowing surface. Still, who can help but confuse the real and its simulacrum? And is there a difference between the two? Is reality so much more different than what we observe? We assume that solitude is the setting of silence, but one is often merely the concomitant of the other. A brief survey of the two suggests that silence is usually a late articulation of solitude, one whose value begins to trump solitude's importance only as the pressure that engendered such isolation yield to more extreme circumstances or intentions. And what a contradiction is the solitary silence we so deeply value, even as we argue it should be banned as an intolerably cruel punishment. Is the essential difference between the silence we seek and that which we fear simply the difference between the voluntary and involuntary? So, one begins to wonder if perhaps silence is concurrent with the unspeakable. And if poets should not attempt to speak of the unspeakable, then where's the line drawn? Does the unspeakable demand silence? But the unspeakable nearly always has something to do with silence in one form or another, and perennial suffering has as much right to expression as a tortured man has to scream. And I too scream, despite my silence. Because silence to me is waking up alone, in a town where I see so many familiar faces but know no one. I am one of those mute ghosts in silent films, flitting about the earth, attempting to bring no attention to myself, merely existing. Silence to me stems from fear of sound, more specifically, the sounds that come out of my mouth, the words I speak, and how others will perceive them. I often find myself asking, if I say this, will they think I'm dumb? If I talk too much, will they think I'm annoying? If I don't agree with them, will they hate me? Please don't hate me. So, I keep my mouth shut, because it's easier that way, easier for people to ignore me rather than resent me. Silence to me is paranoia. What is it to you?